Everybody, we'll call the meeting to order. It's great to see everybody here. Welcome to the December 17th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I'd like to remind you to please silence your electronic devices, and let me be the first to check because that would be really embarrassing. So if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, as we begin our meeting tonight, we pause to thank you for your continued blessings upon our city. We thank you for our terrific residents, business owners, and employees. We know that this is a difficult time for many people, and we pray that they feel your comfort and the support of the community. We pray especially for the families of Charlotte County Sheriff Sergeant Elio Diaz and Polk County Sheriff's Deputy Gregory Maynard. May they feel the comfort that only you can provide. We ask for your wisdom and collaboration tonight as we continue our work to advance the common good of our community. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. So for those of you, I think probably everybody's been to our meetings in the past year or so, but if you are new, we do have a small tradition here where we, at the beginning of each meeting, we have one of our council members present a historic or interesting fact about the city of Temple Terrace or the area. And tonight it will be Councilmember Fernandez whose idea this was. So Councilmember Fernandez, you're up.
Okay. So a lot of you realize that we have a golf course running through the city, and it's a lovely green space that some people use for golf and some people walk their dogs on. But Temple Terrace is actually the first master planned community in the United States to be built around a golf course. It was originally named Temple Terrace Estates, and some of this you may realize. And the community, with its golf course, actually became an integral part of the social life in the greater Tampa area. And the hub of all of that social life in Temple Terrace happened at the Temple Terrace Country Club and Club Morocco. So both of those buildings, they were actually in very close proximity to each other, and both of them are on what is now Florida College campus. Club Morocco is gone, but during its heyday, it was a casino, and it was also the city of Temple Terrace's recreation pool. So it was the pool where I had swim practice when I was on the swim club before our current rec center was built. But the country club was the social hub of the city and offered many entertainments even to the greater Tampa area. So Al Jolson performed there. There were dances, there were parties, there were many other entertainers that came into the area that performed at the country club. And it was also a hotel for visitors. So a lot of you may not remember, but if you do, you know that the older homes, the 1920s Spanish-style homes, were often only occupied part of the year for the season. People would come here for the winter from colder northern climates, and they weren't designed for a lot of elaborate cooking. They had very small kitchens. If you owned one of those houses, you were meant to eat your meals in the country club. So that was one of the ways it was also just a hub of the community, because almost everybody who was here visiting or residing in one of their houses ate at the country club. So the country club was completed between 1922 and 1923, and it was designed by M. Leo Elliott, who was a prominent architect, in the Spanish mission style, and it was known as an elegant place. The entrance featured a stylish glass and wrought iron awning and marble steps, so it's quite ornate. And Paul Chafflin, he actually worked on the Vizcaya in Miami. He decorated the luxurious clubhouse interior. So it was designed to be very luxurious and opulent and expensive, I'm guessing. So it featured 36 private guest rooms and a large dining room and many seating areas with natural light. And the entire clubhouse was designed so that it took in the views of the river and the natural setting and the golf course. And it was a very comfortable but yet fancy place to hang out. So they had the locker rooms for people who wanted to golf. They had pool tables. They had obviously spaces for dining, spaces for relaxing, and all of it was designed to be very comfortable and take in the natural setting. And it was absolutely a social center for everybody who was in Temple Terrace. So in 1932, however, the city foreclosed on the hotel, and it was sold to the Florida Fundamental Bible Institute. And then in 1944, the building was sold to Florida Christian College, which is now Florida College, and it's now known as Sutton Hall. So those of you who are familiar with our past city council meeting where we discussed the future of Sutton Hall, know that this was the original country club for the city of Temple Terrace. And when Florida College was utilizing the building, it served as a residence hall, and also the kitchen and dining area served as their cafeteria. I think in 1998 is when they replaced the cafeteria with a different building. So the original Temple Terrace building, along with the Club Morocco and the golf course, were central to the lives of residents and visitors and were critical to the early development of the city. And the clubhouse, Sutton Hall, showcases the architecture of Temple Terrace Estates, the lifestyle of a past era, and the heritage of Temple Terrace. So it is a building that we will be sad to see no longer with the city, as it represents the past of the purpose of the city and why people came here and what they did when they were here. But that is the history of Sutton Hall, the original Temple Terrace Country Club for the golf course. And not to shortchange the orange groves, they were a very big part of the city of Temple Terrace, and people did come here who had some ownership in groves, either in Temple Terrace or the area, to stay here, to be in close proximity to them. But so there were other reasons they came to the city of Temple Terrace besides golf, but this was the country club that was for the city. And I do want to encourage people who are interested. This book was written by members of the Preservation Society. It has a lot of pictures, and it has some of the history and some of the information I got from this book. And it does have pictures if you're interested, and I know that there is a way that you can buy this, but I also know that the library has several copies. So I encourage everybody who's interested to look at it, and that's it.
Good, thank you. That was good. Who's up next, Cheryl? Do you remember? The bar's been set high.
I'll have to look at the schedule again. I'm not sure.
Okay, the bar's been set high. Okay, thank you very much, council members. So next up, we have Employee of the Month for November. And I'd like to invite Amy Hutchlet to the podium, please. So I'm going to read from this script, Amy, because that's what I'm supposed to do, but I think I could tell this story probably even better than this script. So Ms. Hutchlet is our Employee of the Month for November. She is our Public Safety Telecommunications Supervisor. So in layman's terms, she runs the 911 center. That's what she does. And she consistently goes above and beyond in her supervisory position, demonstrating exceptional dedication, professionalism, and a positive attitude that inspires those around her. That is all true, but I'm not sure that it really captures the full extent of how important you are around here. Amy serves as our 911 dispatch supervisor, as I said. She's also chair of the Employees for Employees Committee, and fulfills many other responsibilities that are crucial to city operations, which is true. No matter what you're doing down here at City Hall, Amy's head seems to pop up in the middle of whatever it is. So she wears many hats around here. Despite facing personal challenges during Hurricane Milton, Amy's professionalism and reliability shone through. And I'm going to go off script here a little bit because I was here when this happened. I was actually lived this with them. Amy was at the EOC well, all the time that I was there. So I don't know if she ever went home to sleep or eat, but she was there every time, every day that I was there, which was most of the day, every day, and she was there. Despite her own home being flooded, and I think there was a medical emergency somewhere in there in your family as well, she never left. And she's talking to her family about what to do about the flood and who to call and get the stuff up off the floor, but she stayed at the EOC to work. She remained a dependable force in dispatch, working long hours as needed to ensure the department's smooth operation continued. At the end of November, the fire department experienced an unexpected loss of one of our firefighters. Amy was always ready to lend a helping hand. She stepped in to support the firefighters during this difficult time by providing lunch for the firefighters. This is a testament to her selflessness and care for her colleagues, and I could go on and on and on off script here, but I won't. So, Amy, you're a huge part of what goes on around here. I know everybody could talk a lot about that, but we won't. So would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. That's really all I can say right now. Thank you.
That is a few words. Let's give her a round of applause. Double duty today. You're the photographer too?
All right, yep. All right. Thank you.
Next item is a presentation of the city's proposed flag and the Temple Terrace brand architecture. And here to present that is our Marketing and Communication Officer, Joel Duarte.
Good morning. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Joel.
City Council members. I'm Joel, the Marketing Communications Officer. Tonight I'm here to present the proposed city flag. First off, I want to thank the public for the submissions to the flag challenge. We got over 40 submissions, and they each had a piece to a puzzle. I think the committee had a tough time just picking one winner. So I was tasked with the chance of taking these ideas and making a cohesive, collaborative flag, and this is what I came up with. So it has a green background. The green represents our tree canopy, our greenery, our green spaces. It pays homage to the Temple Arch, the golf course, the Hillsborough River, and obviously the oak trees, which are now prominent in the city, as well as the light tower, which is now one of the entry points into the city, and the two T's that are part of our branding. Again, this is a proposed flag, and if the council wishes, we can come back again make as a resolution if that is what the council wishes for it to be. And in that case, if we were to do that, this time we would include the colors and the explanation of what everything represents, being that back in the past there was some sort of a flag, but no one took that information down. So that's the proposed flag. Then we have what's our brand architecture. So now I have more than a year in the role. When I first got here, there was a disconnect. There was an attempt to rebrand, and there was two brands floating around. And I felt that the rebrand wasn't done successfully. There was a lack of education of what was going on. So I felt that the established brand had pieces that were valuable and that could have been kept. So I wanted to make it a responsive logo. So a responsive logo is a logo that can be broken apart and put into different mediums but still represent the same brand. It's flexible. It fits multiple marketing scenarios, from government to social media. For example, some examples of those are, some of these brands that we all know. It starts off as the big logo, but then goes down to as simple as a mark, and you still know what that brand is. So for us, I like to see the TTs as our Nike swoosh, right? That's what everyone should know us for. If you see the T's, think of Temple Terrace. So that becomes the smallest scale of our logo, and it can be used as a watermark for merchandise, printing, just it's our symbol. And then we have our tagline, Amazing City since 1925. I saw part of the brand when I first got here, but in reality it is a tagline, and it is something that can stand alone, just like Nike uses Just Do It. It could be on its own, it could be with the logo, it can, it gives us more flexibility. Then, being that we have so many services that we provide, as the mayor once pointed out, it's like a bunch of little shops. Having just one logo doesn't give us the flexibility and the mobility of presenting ourselves to the public. So brand architecture allows us to have this flexibility of doing different things. So sometimes the official logo wouldn't fit well in certain sponsorship opportunities or certain color backgrounds because it was just that one piece. It also allows for employee culture engagement because they can then pick which part of the brand they like the best or which one they associate closer to. And it gives us flexibility for growth if we have it in the future. So some examples of a brand architecture would be these. Some cities also have the same method where they have similar elements that tie back to the main brand, where they still their own little shops, if you will. So the official government logo stays the same, right? It's not that we're eliminating that, but then that has now a usage. It's used for official government use. So for the city council, for the clerk, for the attorney, anything that comes governmentally will have this official logo. Then we have our standard logo, which is more for common use, sponsorship, branding, social media, web, and it's more of a portrait version of the logo, being that that's where we live now. We're no longer landscape, so it gives it more space and more breadth. What I did here was more of a refresh of the brand. I got rid of the filigrees in the back and just stacked the Temple Terrace, so now it's more portrait size. Then we created a condensed version. So this is, again, like I said, sometimes the logo was so elaborate and big it didn't fit well in certain spaces. So now we have a third option that gives us that flexibility to present. And then we have our sub-brands. So Police and Fire was already here when I got here, and then we created Parks and Rec. So the Parks and Rec logo still has elements that ties into the main brand. So now we have that ability in the future if we need to create more. Then we have our promotional logos. Same thing, they all kind of tie in. These could be one-offs, these could be for events, these could be for holidays. Now we have that flexibility to create new things, but still tying into the main brand. So this would somewhat be what the architecture would look like at the moment. And again, it's all fluid now, and now it gives us the mobility to continue to create if we need to as we grow, or if new things develop or new changes happen, and we have that mobility to proceed in the future. And now we also have different options of color. So when I got here, there was just that one color. Now we've created a white and a black version of most brands. That way they fit with better color background, and it gives it more design qualities. So for example, in some of our merchandise, they fit now. We don't have to just stick to that one stitch that sometimes doesn't come out well. Well, now this one might be simpler, or the hearts for one-off events, and it allows us to be more mobile and flexible. So thank you, and I stand for any questions if you have.
Thank you, Joel. Council members, questions? Okay, so when I first saw the beginnings of this, there was a policy associated with this. Is that they're going to be like a city internal rule? So if we're making up koozies for an event or something, it would be in the policy what brand you would and would not use. So you wouldn't use that logo on a koozie.
Yeah, so we'll have a brand guideline book that we are working on. Obviously, if you approve, then we'll finish that out, and it'll have the proper color usage, what you can and cannot do. So, for example, you can't stretch out the logo, you can't change the logo to any color you want. So it'll have more rules to it associated to these brand definitions.
So, Council, we didn't need a formal vote on this, but I do kind of want to throw something out for your soft approval here. It seems to me, in my conversations with the city manager earlier, I said, the flag, I think, needs to be formally adopted in a resolution. So at some point in the near future, whenever we have a fairly light agenda or something, I would expect a resolution to come back so we have it on the records of the city that this is what the flag is. That also gives us an opportunity to put the flag out to the public, now on social media and the website or wherever to, between now and then for the public to look at it and get opinions on it or, proposals. Although the public was engaged in the design of it to begin with, this is another chance for them to review does that all sound reasonable to everybody?
Yes.
Sound good?
I'd like to go on record, I do like the flag. The flag is really good. I like that. We had discussion about 2-3 years ago regarding the logos, and there was some people really got their knickers in a knot over the whole thing. It was being done surreptitiously, and I don't remember all the details. Does this sort of calm that down, or will this? Because I know they didn't like the TT and the double T, and people, some people complained about that. To Carlos, does this? How's that going to affect that?
So I think I know what you're referring to. Is actually a meeting right before I was hired. I remember that conversation. I sort of watched it on TV. At that point, I think the direction that the staff at the time was no longer here was pursuing was this notion of almost replacing the logo. That is not what we're recommending this evening. We're keeping the logo. What we're doing is, I think what Joel did a very nice job of showing is, we're sort of following this business corporate model, which is the logo is your home, and you're working off your home in different contexts where it might fit better for different, whatever you're using it for at the time. So we're maintaining fidelity to the city logo that a lot of people put an effort into. We're not changing there. We're not going to dispose of that.
I think it's good. I like the whole concept of being able to parse it out and use the pieces of it, but to have an established set of rules that everybody within the city follows. I think that's going to be very beneficial going forward. I like the whole concept.
Thank you.
I do too. Mr. Duarte, thank you. If there's nothing, oh, you had something?
I just
Oh,
want
okay.
to echo Councilmember Schistler's comments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I echo.
No, this is
all great.
really good work, Mr. Duarte. This is what we've been trying to get to, and this is what other brands do. That USF, the airport. I've read their manual. USF has a very complicated manual, but it's all between the horns and USF and USF Health, and there's a lot of different sub brands and. The sheriff's office has different, so this is where we need to be. And so thank you for doing this. And I know you've been working on this for a while because we've been talking. So
Will smaller versions of the flag be available to residents?
Once we do the resolution, then we'll get big ones and little ones, and then we'll have it out there.
yep.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Duarte. All right, council, there are 2 regular appointments to be made to the library board. There are 2 regular member vacancies on the library board with terms expiring on December the 21st. 2 of the current members whose terms are expiring are Jessica Kings-Buckley and Nathan Johnson. Both have reapplied. We've also received we've received applications for those 2, but also from some others. So our total list is Jessica Kings-Buckley, Juan Fredera, Nathan Johnson, Suzanne Knapp, and Cynthia Wilhite have applied. So we have 5 applicants and 2 vacancies, which is a really good problem to have. We're not usually having that problem. And I'm sure you've read their applications. All of them are really excellent people. And so the 3 who are not selected tonight, I want to assure you that we will look for a way to put you to work if you want to volunteer for the city. So, okay. Are any of them here, and would you like to say a few words? You don't have to, but you're welcome to if any of the 5 are here. I don't see anybody rushing up. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to say a few words? You have to come up to the podium. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you're welcome. I always feel like I'm putting people on the spot, so you don't. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Wilhite. I've moved here about 3 years ago. I love Temple Terrace. I've been a big fan of the library since a kid. So I wanted a way to be involved in the community. So when I saw the application open, I applied. But thank you for the opportunity. I hope to hear my name. So
Thank you, and thank you for being here tonight, too. Anybody else? Okay, council members, there are 2 ballots. So we will select one name per ballot. I guess that's how we're doing this.
You could just vote one ballot and put.
One ballot? I wondered why we had
Just
two.
in case you needed a second one.
Okay, so we'll just do one ballot. There you go. What's the number? We have to get to 270? Is that how this works? You're bringing back flashbacks, all right. So while the clerk tabulates those, I do want to say to the three who applied that everybody can't get appointed here, but thank you, all five of you, for your willingness to serve the city. And I'm very serious about, you know, if you're stuck on library board, then we'll get you there sooner or later. But there's also other opportunities that we can always use citizen involvement. And so thank you for stepping up. I wish we could have boards big enough to accommodate. I hate turning volunteers away. That's like the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Well, I do want to add to that, that all of the boards that the city appoints volunteers to are public. So even if you are not appointed to a board that you are interested in, you can still attend those meetings and keep up to date with what's going on for any of the citizen boards.
That's a very good point. Thank you. So, Madam Clerk.
So, Councilmember Schischler voted for Kings Buckley and Nathan Johnson. Mayor Ross voted for Kingsley and Nathan Johnson. Councilmember Fernandez voted for Kings Buckley and Nathan Johnston. Councilmember Chambers voted for Kings Buckley and Nathan Johnson. And Councilmember Kravitz voted for Nathan Johnson and Suzanne Knapp. So the two highest are the current members, which is Kings Buckley and Nathan Johnson.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve Jessica Kings Buckley and Nathan Johnson as regular members of the library board for a term extending from December 17th, 2024 until December 17th, 2027?
Second.
Who made the motion? Councilmember Kravitz. Okay, and a second by Councilmember Schister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? Very good. Thank you to the two for reapplying, and to the three of you for your willingness to step up, and I look forward to seeing the three of you in the future. Council, has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our December 3rd meeting, and if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there discussion or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays? The minutes are adopted. There are, now we're on persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are forms in the back of the room if you wish to address the council. We do have I like to read this once in a while. I don't think this has been a problem for a while, but we do have a 30-minute time limit on this portion of the meeting. And what we do is if there's too many people, we stop at 30 minutes and then we continue at the end of the meeting. That way we can get business done. We haven't had that happen in a long time, but I like to say it once in a while in case it happens. It's not the first time people have heard it. We do have a 3-minute time limit imposed on all comments from each person, and we ask that the speakers come to the podium and state their name and city of residence. I currently have one request to speak from a Mr. and Mrs. Chris Kringle. Well, here we go.
Merry Christmas, Merry Happy Holidays, and Happy Hanukkah, citizens of Temple Terrace.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is it right to limit Santa to 3 minutes? I don't know if that's, I'm going to let you make that decision.
He did it if it is.
But I have a 3-hour speech.
Well, maybe we'll split.
My name is Santa Claus, and this is Mrs. Claus, and we reside at 0001 North Pole. I am actually here on official business tonight. It is my honor and my privilege to bring to you tidings of joy and good news. We have all been waiting, I know, to find out, has the city council been On the good list? Or the naughty list? Well, I'm pleased to report, with all of the emails and all of the snail mails and all of the texts that I have gotten, that the children of the city of Temple Terrace have greatly enjoyed the 4th of July parade, the Fall Festival, and Winter Wonderland, which I got to attend. It was a great event. Lovely golf carts you have here in the city. The citizens have been very pleased with especially your leadership through the storms and the hurricanes this year. And of course, the thing that always puts one close to the good list is not raising taxes. We have no taxes at the North Pole. And finally, on behalf of the citizens of the Temple Terrace employees who have been flooding me with emails lately on your leadership and your generosity in giving them Christmas Eve off, I'm pleased to report that the Temple Terrace City Council has made the good list. Oh! And Mrs. Claus has provided some goodies for each of you.
Thank you, thank you.
Of course, it's peppermint to keep you up during your long and laborious meetings. Enjoy, enjoy.
Thank you.
Only one for you.
That's okay.
We're only halfway on the good list.
Mr. Schoen gets 3. No lawsuits against Santa.
I'll share an extra.
Gerald. Candy canes for you. And for everyone, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Ho, ho, ho.
Merry
Ho,
Christmas.
ho, ho.
That's a first.
I don't even know what to say after that. Kind of got me speechless. I don't currently have any other request to speak. Is anybody brave enough to want to follow that? We do have forms, and you are, okay. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. The resolution approving the consent agenda is approved. Next item is a resolution approving a 2-year contract for audit services with Forbes Mazars LLC for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. And our finance director, Mr. Ingram, is here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Never thought I would be following Santa Claus, but this is a resolution approving a 2-year contract for audit services with Forbes Mazars LLC for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. City Council adopted Resolution 5124 on June 4th, 2024, approving a 2-year contract for MSL PA to perform the city's financial audit for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025. Effective November 1st, 2024, Forbes Mazars LLP acquired the assets of MSLPA, requiring the city to sign a new agreement with the same terms, same amount, most importantly, the same amount, to reflect the new firm. The former MSLPA audit team, headed by Jeff Wolf, have transferred to Forbes Mazars LLP and will continue to perform the financial audits for the City of Temple Terrace. The City of Temple Terrace Audit Committee met with Jeff Wolf on December 2nd, 2024, to discuss the change and have recommended that the city enter into the new agreement with Farvis Mazars LLP. Staff recommends that council approve the 2-year contract with Farvis Mazars LLC, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council members, any questions for Mr. Ingram? If there are no questions, is there a motion?
Yes, all right. Move to approve a resolution approving a 2-year contract for audit services with Forvis Mazars LLC for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2024, and for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2025.
Second, but we have them listed as LLC, but in their documents, they're LLP. I mean, I don't think it's.
Okay, I'm,
Ms. Shoshone, is that fundamental to the motion?
oh, I'm sorry, that is correct, LLP.
I will amend my motion to LLP.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay, so
That's fine, and then we'll correct the actual resolution to reflect the motion.
further discussion of the motion?
I think it's, excuse me, I was thinking that it's a good move. They're a stronger company, they're bigger, and it provides more opportunities for us if we need any guidance or anything in any of the areas, a bigger base. So I think it's a good move, and I'm in favor of it.
Other discussion of the motion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Next item is a resolution approving the revised CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant Agreement with Hillsborough County's Board of County Commissioners. Our Assistant Finance Director Jennifer Newman is here to explain. Hello, Mrs. Newman.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. The item I have for you this evening is a resolution to approve an updated interlocal agreement between Hillsborough County and the city to fund infrastructure improvements under the Community Development Block Grant known as CDBG. The original agreement was approved by resolution during council meeting on November 19th, 2024. However, prior to the county signing their approval of that agreement, they noted a couple of items that they wanted to update. First, the funding was reduced by $6,565 from $542,993 to an amount not to exceed $536,428. And second, there were exhibits and an additional article were added for the Build America, Buy America Act, which is a new act, which outlines the compliance requirements for the city and for contractors who perform work on CDBG projects. At this time, staff recommends council approve the updated interlocal CDBG agreement with Hillsborough County, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jennifer. I do have a couple, but first we'll go to public comment. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? And Jennifer, is that what these, I'm sorry, Mrs. Newman, is that what these attachments are for my signature? Is this related to this, having to do with foreign? This is something else?
That's
Okay.
yeah, that is.
All right, never mind.
Yes, I do have a new agreement that Councilor Pimp Shoshone has.
Okay.
That is has the new amount in it and has some additional articles and additional exhibits for the Build America, Buy America.
Why was it reduced? Did they explain?
I think that they had a miscalculation when they first did the first agreement, and when they went to review the calculation, they determined that they needed to reduce it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schuster, did you have a question?
Yes, that was, you answered the first part. Second part is, this is already in our capital plan for usage through for the next year or two?
Yes, we do already have it in the budget, but we can reduce that budget, or we just won't spend as much as, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
Can you describe exactly what the city is allowed to spend this money on, and what actual projects the community would see from this funding?
So this funding, it would take me a long time to describe everything that it can actually be spent on, but we do have specific projects. So the areas have to be determined under a census, that they fall within a blighted area or an area that needs improvement. And so the federal government passes the money on to the county, and then the county passes the money to us to improve those areas for infrastructure, for water main lines, streets, sidewalks, things like that, that will help improve those areas in the city. We cannot use it just anywhere in the city. It has to be in an area that has been approved through the Hillsborough County BOCC.
So for the projects that we have budgeted in our capital improvement plan or in the budget for this upcoming year, we already know that those projects meet the guidelines Hillsborough County has established, or the federal government has established.
Yes, when we apply for the funding, we have to tell them specifically what projects we plan on doing, what we expect those amounts to be, and what area those projects are going to be completed in. And so they have to be approved prior to this agreement even coming to the council.
Okay, that's it.
Other questions? If there are no more questions, or is there a motion?
To approve the revised CDGB agreement with Hillsborough County BOCC.
Second.
Is there discussion of the motion? I do have one quick comment for whoever. So I've brought this up a couple of years in a row. I have repeatedly talked to Mayor Castor about this because our CDBG area brushes right up against their CDBG area, and Hillsborough County also has a piece of that. And so I have tried to encourage all three parties to talk about their proposals and projects, and if we were to each take a piece of a project, we could probably do a project that may be a little bigger and a little more impactful to the community rather than just another 200 feet of sidewalk, which is important, but what I'm saying is if Tampa puts some money in and we put some money in and we're right across the street from each other, we may be able to do something that's even more impactful. So I hope, I don't know if that's happening, but now's not the time because we've already identified the projects, but next year I hope that happens. So very good. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next is a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to bring forward a purchase and sale agreement for acquisition of property involving folio number 036598-0000, located at 5017 East 127th Avenue, Temple Terrace, at a public meeting on January the 21st, 2025 for city council consideration. City Manager Bahia will explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So, as the council knows, the Pleasant Terrace neighborhood at the northwest end of our community was developed largely in the 70s without any stormwater management infrastructure. In fact, much of that water historically has flowed from the impervious areas down to the natural low point of that neighborhood, which is at the western end of East 127th Avenue. The county recognized some of those challenges, and in the 80s and 90s, when this property was unincorporated, actually placed drainage easements on several properties in that particular location. Those easements, while they were a means of trying to address the stormwater concerns, have become an issue of chronic concern because there's still significant amounts of water that flow and go into those properties, causing erosion, leaving standing water in some cases for days, and in some instances also the water makes its way into the actual homes. City Council, as you know, the staff's been looking at this issue for several years. The ideal solution for this problem would be to remove the properties in that area, in that low point, and create a large retention facility. We looked at that at the time when we were preparing the capital program. We just didn't have any situation where there was a person willing to sell and relocate and things like that, and we were not about to recommend eminent domain for a number of different complications. So because of that, last year in August of 2023, Utilities Director Tinch came before you and sought approval to move forward on a capital program in that area that would have basically recognized the same drainage easements, but scraped out some of the material, the vegetative material that's accumulated over the years, and also rehabilitated the nearby lift station. We were hoping that obviously would be a solution. The city staff has continued to work towards that goal. However, there's been some complications from the property owners there, still with some added safeguards they want, retaining walls, things like that. So it's made that project a little bit harder to implement. With Hurricane Milton, a home in the sort of the main receiving point of that in that easement area was impacted. This property is at 5017 East 127th Avenue. And that property is actually owned by a limited liability corporation whose managing partner happens to be our city attorney. The city attorney, prior to the storm, had told me and a number of our staff that she was planning to retire in July of next year, July 2025, and would be selling her home in the spring. In light of the events of Milton and the context about everything going on, I approached the city council about the possibility of us looking to acquire that property, to tear it down and in fact build a retention area. In November, the city council authorized me to engage the services of the outside law firm of Gray Robinson. The reason we wanted an outside law firm is we wanted to, again, make it very clear. We wanted to have a buffer between the city and the city attorney, obviously, in this negotiation, to make this as evident as possible. We want to do everything ethically and above board. The firm advised the city and Ms. Shoshone at the time that Florida statute 112.313 actually prohibits a public officer from selling property to its agency, but there is an exemption in that same statute that exists if the sale will protect our residents' health, safety, and welfare, which we have advocated that this would do. And it's important to note for the council and the public that statute applies to the seller, in this case, to the municipal public officer. It does not apply to the city. So the onus of compliance with that statute, it relies or is on Ms. Shoshone. Ms. Shoshone is advised that she's actually put in a request with the Florida Commission on Ethics for an informal written advisory opinion, which she hopes to receive prior to January 21, should the council wish to move forward on this issue. At this point, both parties are operating under the assumption that this would meet the criteria for the exemption. Upon moving forward with council authorization and commissioning the firm of Gray Robinson, the city, at the Gray Robinson attorney's recommendation, commissioned 2 independent appraisals. The values of those appraisals for this property came in, one came in at $460,000. Another one came in at $474,000. The parties have tentatively agreed to a purchase price of $465,000 with a closing date of February 28th, 2025. Tonight, what we're asking for the council is that this be set for consideration at its January 21st, 2025 agenda, and that is to provide 30 days notice, which is the same practice that we did when we acquired property on Harney Road. We want to make sure, again, the public has enough time to look at this issue, and that's what's on for your consideration tonight.
Good, thank you, Mr. B. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council member questions for Mr. B.
I have one.
Councilmember Kravitz.
Carlos, I just wanted to thank you for that really good summary. I appreciate that. I was interested to hear that Pamela has asked for a formal ethical opinion.
We do have rules of decorum, so Mr. B. and Ms. Shoshone, please. Thank you.
I was just interested to find out that Ms. Shoshone has asked for a formal ethical opinion, and I was also happy to hear that we've engaged attorneys. How do you feel about getting a formal opinion of our own from the attorneys that we've engaged, that there are no issues or impediments on our end? I know you said that the ethical issue only inures to Ms. Shoshone, so it should be a very short opinion.
So I did speak with the attorneys at Gray Robinson about this, and so they're again, what they mentioned is that really the onus is on Ms. Shoshone as the seller here. What they contemplate is in the findings, they will prepare the resolution. Should council say yes tonight to set it for the 21st, what they will do is they will help us prepare the resolution. They will include the findings, which will provide the necessary justification for compliance with the statute by all parties. So in their mind, that is their sort of legal opinion, if you will, not necessarily a legal opinion in the true definition, but in the sense of that will give the premise, the supporting documentation to support this action. If council wants to pursue a legal opinion, again, not really sure what they would be looking to provide a legal opinion on for us. However, if you do that, just please note that would be billable hours for them. They've already indicated what they're planning to do for us, that they feel they're comfortable enough making the recommendation through the resolution. that would be something, again, it's council's desire. If you want to do that, we can. That's not what they recommended, but we could do that. Obviously, there would be an added cost to that.
You still have the floor.
That's all right.
Other,
Yield the floor.
go ahead. Oh, are you done?
I said I yield the floor.
Oh, okay. Other questions, Councilmember Fernandez?
So my question is for our city manager and that, well, maybe not, but really in regards to the stormwater and the easements, and will the purchase of this property give the city the necessary location and volume, the size, to accommodate the drainage and make the project so that it will alleviate the problem that area has had?
So it will definitely be a better improvement than what we currently have on the books. What we have on the books, would have left the house there, we'd be working around the edges, and it would be better than that. Will it provide the capacity to alleviate every single problem in Pleasant Terrace and all the water? I wouldn't be able to say that. It's definitely a step in the right direction. If we were to acquire all the homes in the drainage easement area, which may be 3, 4, 5 homes, then yes, that would be a much better improvement. But that would be very cost prohibitive, and also people aren't necessarily willing to sell and have to relocate from their property. So at this point, we see this as being a very good opportunity to do something here. What we plan to do, if council would approve this in January, if council wants to set it even for January, would be after we close, within several weeks, we would tear this property down. We'd scrape out the foundation and basically create a retention area. We'd want to make sure that's done in an expeditious manner so that it's done well before the start of hurricane season.
Okay, so for the city's purposes, this actually solves a problem that we weren't necessarily able to provide as encompassing a solution prior to this property becoming available.
What it does is it provides us a much better solution than we previously had to address the stormwater retention issues in that neighborhood. So when we look at this, does it protect the public health, welfare, and safety of our neighbors of that particular neighborhood? I would say it definitely does for public welfare, because when the water flows and if it ponds and it damages those properties and it flows out, it doesn't just stay there, it goes places, right? So if you take out some of the impediments, the structural impediments, you open up an area where that water can percolate. In most storms, that would probably be sufficient. Obviously, if we get a storm like a major storm with lots of rainfall, and we have existing saturated conditions, it won't be the end-all be-all. There might still be some overflow. But I think it's a much better alternative, and if you want to ask staff, I'm sure they would, if city engineer or public works director, utilities director, they would confirm that to be the case.
Okay, and then I have a question about the choice of appraisers, and obviously we spoke about it earlier, but can you just give the public the information as to how you selected the appraisers so that they know that they were independent?
Certainly. So at first, we actually asked our outside attorneys, Gray Robinson, to provide us with a list of appraisers. It turns out that many of those appraisers were solely for commercial property. That's their area of expertise. So Jeannie Barlow, my assistant, eventually went through and just looked at appraisers, found it through a search engine, and selected appraisers who are certified to do that. There was no interference by any other party in that. That's basically, we just did that ourselves, looking to find independent appraisers, and we picked 2.
Thank you.
So, other questions, Councilmember Schiff?
Back to the problem, this is solve the problem issue. If I remember correctly, we had like 3 or 4 options of how to remedy the situation. One of them was being acquire all the properties, which is $1 bazillion, and then there was others to do some infrastructure changes, increase the pump size, if I remember correctly. What's the status of that portion of it? Because it's all going to work together. It just makes it a lot more efficient moving forward.
Certainly. So the part of the project that was approved last year, there were multiple components. One component was to scrape out the vegetation at drainage easement, but the other component, the very important component, was to rehabilitate the lift station that's nearby, because the county installed a lift station in the 90s that facilitates the water being sent from this drainage area over to a borrow pit that FDOT owns. It's not an ideal solution, but it's what happened to work there for several decades. The city council, several meetings ago, approved a $608,000 contract to do that portion of it. So we're going to do that, because that's, regardless of what you do this evening, that's still necessary, because that, again, this property accepts water, and eventually that water is pumped out to that borrow pit.
But it'll make it'd be an improvement over just that alone.
Correct, it will
It'll
complement
actually be
this.
much better off for the city in the long run.
Yes, sir, we feel so.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one more question.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So this question is more a procedural question. Right now, the city attorney's contract requires that the city attorney reside in the city of Temple Terrace. If the city purchases this house, the city attorney won't have a home in the city of Temple Terrace. And so I think we need to obviously discuss, if the city attorney is planning to retire in 6 months, I would be willing to forego the requirement that the city attorney reside in the city, because I think it would be burdensome to try to find a new place to live, especially considering there's not very many houses for sale in that time period. But I don't know procedurally, if we go forward with this, how that works.
Would it be okay if I reply to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm glad you brought it up. We're trying to keep these two items separate, but they are related. You're right. So it would require, assuming that this deal closed, it would require a revision to Ms. Shoshone's employment contract, because you are correct, it has a residency requirement. We really can't task that to the city manager, because they're both charter officers. She works for the council, not for the city. So we normally, it doesn't have to be this way, it's not set in stone anywhere. Historically, what has happened is the council has empowered the mayor to negotiate these terms and revisions, and then bring that back to council for discussion and approval. I can't obviously approve it; it has to be approved by council at a meeting. If this is the direction that the council wants to go in, I was going to bring up the idea that, okay, it probably would be a good idea, and it doesn't have to be me if you don't want that, but somebody, one of the five of us, needs to be tasked with negotiating this revision to this contract with Ms. Shoshone, and bringing that back for council's consideration. And it really needs to be brought back before the close of this property, because we don't want to close on this property and then have a council say, well, no, we're not going to excuse her from living in the city. And then she said, well, I would have never sold you the house if, So we really need to approve the contract revisions, and it would be simple to do that, saying contingent upon the closing of the sale of this real estate, these revisions would be approved. And so if the sale were to fall through, her contract would remain the same. And so that wouldn't be in this motion per se, but that would be the next related thing that and that's my suggestion.
I'm okay with that.
But,
I'm fine with that.
I'm
yeah,
okay with that.
we would discuss that probably next if this were the council's wishes.
All right,
So you
that's
had
all
the-
I have.
Okay, are there other questions?
Point of inquiry to the city attorney, if I may.
I'm sorry,
I have a point of inquiry to the city attorney, if I may.
Mr. Mueller?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yes, please, Mr. Kravitz.
Are you, obviously, I've heard this is a low-risk transaction to the city. I'm happy to hear that. Without a legal opinion regarding the interpretation of some of the statutes that have been discussed, are you in a position to say that this carries no legal risk to Temple Terrace?
Yes. I feel very comfortable moving forward, especially with outside counsel guiding us on this. But I do believe, in my reading of the statute, I feel we fall within that public health safety exemption requirement, and it will help the city.
Okay, thank you.
I'm ready to make a motion.
I'll let you, unless there's other questions.
No questions.
Councilmember Schisler.
Move to approve resolution authorizing direct city manager to bring forward a purchase sale agreement for acquisition of property folio, 036598-000, located at 50170 East 117th. for consideration at a public meeting on January 21st, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Now, council, it's not on the agenda, but I would ask if it is your desire that you empower somebody to negotiate just the terms of the employment contract revisions.
Move to approve authorizing the mayor to negotiate the revised contract with the city attorney.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you, council. We will now move on to council business. Consideration of a revised conceptual plan for 10851 Rollerson Ranch Road. And our Community Development Director, Greg Pauley, will explain. Well, these gentlemen have been waiting patiently for, we're finally to you, Ash.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If I could please have the slide. Tonight's request is for your consideration of the conceptual plan associated with the property that the city recently sold to Terrace Real Estate Holdings LLC. This is a 20-acre, more or less, parcel located near the southeast corner of Interstate 75 and Fowler Avenue. The original sale agreement was adopted in October of 2022. Since that time, Council has adopted 3 amendments to that agreement. The first amendment, January 2023, updated deadline for closing and also clarified certain terms within the original agreement. The second amendment was adopted by Council in February of 2024. That amendment changed the primary use of the property. Originally, the primary use of the property was an educational institution for a technical school. And through adoption of this second amendment, it was changed to for the development of a residential project. And then the third amendment was adopted by Council in October of 2024, and that amendment extended the deadline for the property owner and developer to deliver to the city a conceptual plan that the city found acceptable. Before I go to the next slide, I would like to add that the second amendment was based upon a clause in the original agreement which allowed the change of use to come forward based on a feasibility study. And if you recall, that feasibility study was provided by the property owner at that time. This conceptual plan includes 2 options. Both options are very, very similar. Referenced here, we have option A, which includes 6 residential buildings with 60 units per building for a total of 360 residential apartment units, also including a clubhouse and various common areas throughout the property. The significant change between option A and option B is the location of the main entry gatehouse. In option A, you see it located on the parcel, on the west side of the parcel, near the right-of-way, but still within the boundaries of the parcel. Option B, the first 3 call-outs there have not changed. The significant change here is with that main entry gatehouse. This option shows it located within the right-of-way. The property owner is working with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who currently has the right-of-way for Rollerson Ranch. As most of you realize, that was a service road back in the day when the interstate system was developed, and that is how the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I'm sorry, I said it again, Florida Department of Transportation. See what happens after 30 years in that other job? Florida Department of Transportation they're working with them to seek a vacation of that right-of-way so that they can push that main entry gatehouse out into what is now the right-of-way space, which will afford them approximately 35 additional parking spaces on their property. Here is a visual rendering of the product they wish to build. And a quick note here on future land use designations. The current designation of that parcel is public, semi-public. On September 9th of this year, the Planning Commission found that the proposed future land use change to a residential 18 to be consistent with the Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan. And if found acceptable tonight, the next steps in the lineup would be for an amendment to our comprehensive plan. And then the property owner would then need to make application to rezone the property to support the multifamily residential development. And again, if found acceptable, staff recommends approval by motion of the buyer's revised conceptual plan to include both options in the event that they successfully acquire the vacated right-of-way. The exact location of the gatehouse, the main entry gatehouse, is subject to that vacation as well. It will be determined during the site plan review process. The exact location will be set by the site plan review process. And with that, I'm available for any questions you may have. I will point out that we have a representative of the property owner as well as the developer in the audience here tonight who is also willing to take any questions you may have for them.
Thank you, Mr. Pauly. Does the representative of the owner wish to say anything, make any remarks? You can, you don't have to, it's up to you. Okay. Are there members of the public who wish to address this issue? Very well. Council member questions.
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So with regard to the major change, depending on FDOT's vacation or not, is parking. How would that impact this development? Because, I mean, I'm looking at the trees and that's all about the same. So it's really more parking spaces. Does the option A have the parking spaces that a development of this size would require anyway?
I believe, and I'll invite the developer to correct me if I misspeak on this. I believe option A calls for approximately 630 parking spaces. Option B adds an additional 35 spaces. Now, the actual nuts and bolts of how many parking spaces will be required will be worked out through the site plan review process, because that, of course, depends on if those units are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedroom.
Okay, so that kind of detail is going to come before us if this goes forward in the site plan review, and we will know at that time, regardless of whether the FDOT makes a change in the service road or doesn't, the number of parking spaces will already have been parceled out or allocated based on the number of units and the occupancy of those units.
That is exactly correct. I would just like to add that the approval of a conceptual plan, because a conceptual plan is a general approval of the layout and the appearance of the development. Conceptual plans are subject by very nature to certain changes and modifications as the final planning and development comes together. That is why tonight's request is approval by motion and not a formal land action before you, because the next land action that will come before you will most likely be an amendment to our comprehensive plan, followed quickly, shortly thereafter, by an application to rezone.
Okay.
And then after that, then the next thing to expect would be your site plan.
Okay, so then as along with the drainage, stormwater retention, or handling the stormwater retention, that would all be part of the final site plan, and not, I mean, even though they're here, they're on this rendition, but it's speculative at this point.
Yes, in general sense. Again, the concept plan is is a working model to work from, with the availability to make those minor modifications as development occurs. As far as stormwater concerns and things of that nature, that will all go through the DRC process, and a project of this size, I'm sure there will be some comments and then responses from our team back to the developer and then back again.
Okay, so my last question is about the conceptual plan process, and that is, we go forward and let's say we approve this conceptual plan, how do we know right now that we don't, so like, if I approve this conceptual plan and neighbors come to me after the fact and say, no, this isn't consistent with the neighborhood, or the planning department or planning commission comes back and says this isn't consistent with the neighborhood, how does that impact the decision that we've made?
Well, again, the conceptual plan is just a working model. It affords the team behind me the opportunity to take those next steps in their planning and development of their project. All of this, of course, is worked out both with staff and also presented before council prior to the first shovel ever turning dirt. So those things are all addressed at that time.
That's it, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Schiffler?
Mr. Chambers, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Chambers.
I just, to clarify, the conceptual plan is, so if this is approved tonight, they can do apartments. They can't come back and do mini warehouses or strip malls or anything unless our conceptual plan changes again.
That is exactly correct, because if you recall, going back to the original agreement, there was clause in there to develop the educational institution. From that point, in that second amendment, is when that changed. And when that changed, there was clause added at that time to require the developer to prepare an amended or a revised concept plan and bring it forward. And that's what we're here tonight for.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Schiffler.
Yeah, a couple questions real quick. You said public, semi-public. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That would be for our use, for the development of various infrastructures. If you recall the history of this particular piece of property, there was a time in our history when it was being considered for utility services, and when it was determined that that was no longer a need for our community on this property, we retained the property that we're talking about tonight, which has since been sold, and then the adjacent parcel next door that abuts the canal was deeded back to Swiftmud.
Oh, okay, so that's what that deals with.
That's what
Okay,
that is.
So the change to the comprehensive plan, what's that going to entail for us as a city?
It'll come forward. It'll be a process that our city planner will address with the planning commission, and it'll come forward as a text amendment to our comprehensive plan.
So it'll be just related to this issue or item or whatever?
Yeah, because we're changing the FLU on that parcel.
Okay, so then what kind of timetable are we talking about for that?
Oh, I'm not sure on that. I'd have to get with our city planner to work it out with the planning commission, and then I could get back to you on a better date for that.
And is that acceptable? Is that kind of loose translation okay for the owner? I mean, I know there's not much they can do about it otherwise, but I mean, they're aware of it, is my point.
No, I believe they're totally aware of it because they've actually been before the planning commission, and they are totally aware. They were the first to go before the planning commission, actually, and they've got their approval from the planning commission that it is consistent with our plan. It's just that the map amendment would have to be updated. I'm sorry, or I said text earlier. It's a map amendment, so it would have to be updated for that parcel.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I had. Okay.
Councilmember Kravitz, anything? Any questions? No? I have a question. Can you go back to the drawing, the site plan? It doesn't matter if it's A or B. Okay, that's fine. So you wouldn't have prepared for these questions, so I'm not trying to do a gotcha here, but just a thought. Rollerson Ranch is a county-owned road, is that correct? Do you know? I think that's a county
I
road.
believe it's a county road with a state right-of-way.
That's what I'm getting at. So it's a,
It's actually owned by MDOT.
the road is
It is a state.
It is a state road, yeah.
the whole thing from 301?
The whole thing, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that may actually be good because it reduces the number of people you got to talk to. So,
These guys have been doing it. They can.
so
tell you.
here's what I'm getting at here. This road goes to nowhere, and it's never going to go to anywhere because the Federal Highway Administration is not going to waive the limited access line and all that. So there's never going to be a punch through to Fowler Avenue. If there had been, we wouldn't have sold the property to begin with. We'd have kept it. So we know that that road is a dead-end road. It's always going to be a dead-end road. We now also know that DOT not only has a right-of-way on it, but they own it. What do we think about persuading DOT to close that road off at the entrance to this apartment complex when it's built? They need the property, they don't need the road. And so I think, in my opinion, having this dead-end road only invites illicit activity. There's no legitimate purpose for this road. There's no property beyond this entrance for anybody to go to.
And there won't be.
And there never will be. So this is just an invitation for illegal dumping, illicit activity, drug deals, all kinds of, that which probably happen now, although I think there's a bit of a fence up there now. But, and I don't know if that request would come from the city or whether it would come from the property owner or it would be a collaborative effort between two of us to both say this is in everybody's best interest, including DOT's.
Oh, please.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is Brian Smith. I live in Palmetto, Florida, and I've been working with the owner to develop the property. We have solicited a request from FDOT on how to handle that land, and we're still having conversations with them. It doesn't really matter to the developer or us on if it's owned by FDOT or if it's owned by us, but it is a dead-end road that's not going to really affect the development if it's owned by them or us at this point in time.
But it does, we care, our police department cares and the city cares because we don't want to have illegal dumping down. I mean, it's not going to be worse because the apartments are there. It's just going to be the same thing it is now, except we need it to be permanently. And it would only enhance the area if that were just let to grow up and become an additional buffer from the off-ramp.
We would prefer having FDOT dedicate that end of that road to the developer and to the owner, so we can control it a little better, and the road would just dead end into our front driveway.
Option A, option B? Option B does that.
Option B does that,
Option B
yes.
does that.
Well, it doesn't give them the whole road. It just gives them.
Which shuts the road off.
Shuts the road off.
But I'm saying the road stops at the entrance.
Correct.
Because the entrance now is the road at the beginning of the complex.
And either way, if you pull up either plan, they're both, the road will end at our front driveway.
It doesn't show any barrier across the road, at least not that I can see.
Oh, I see your point.
Yeah, I just don't think the road ought to continue on when there's nothing down there.
Right.
And there's never gonna be anything down there.
Right.
So anyhow, could you, Mr. Paul, if the council's okay with this idea, can you
Yeah.
at least be having these talks?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Unless somebody objects to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, other questions?
I see.
Okay, if there are no other questions, is there a motion?
I move to approve the revised conceptual plan for 10851 Rollerson Ranch Road.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Opposed? No nays? The resolution is adopted. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Thank you for your input there. Thank you. Okay, council, new business and board reports. Councilmember Schister, I believe you had something.
Yeah, I did have something, and it goes back to the consent agenda, and I just wanted to compliment staff on something. The consent agenda dealt with the ballpark lift station renovation project, and the original budget, as described in the documents, was about $300,000. I know we've had commentary in the past that this is where we do our flushing out of dollars spent and so forth. But I just wanted to give kudos to staff on this one. It actually came in about $140,000. They could have acquiesced and just let it go the way that was originally laid out in the capital plan, but that's $170,000 that they save the city. It stays in the budget. I know we talk about flushing all that during budget cycle, but we don't. We can't. We have a pretty good idea what it is then, and generally it doesn't go above it, but this is one where they actually able to do it a better price, more economical, and I just wanted to call out and give kudos to staff and administration on doing that. That's all.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Schisler, and thank you guys for that. And Councilmember Fernandez, I believe you had something.
Yes. So first, I'd like to thank the city staff for making the calendar on the homepage interactive. I've used it, and I think, and hopefully people in the public are using it and find it useful. And then my item that I want to talk about is about our historic buildings. And, we've lost several historic buildings due to circumstances that are outside the city's control. And I'd like to know if the city has already an inventory of historic buildings, and if not, we are working with interns from Florida College and USF and various departments across the city, and if this would be the kind of project that we could engage, maybe an intern to help us create a full inventory of historic buildings, not just homes, but buildings. And then also, along those lines, actually create an architectural walking tour for not necessarily anything to pinpoint, but maybe something, I'm not talking about printed documents, but maybe like a QR code where someone could follow and look at more of the key historic buildings in the city. So I didn't know if that's something that we already have, if we're working on it, if this is something the 100-year anniversary board is looking at, or the historic preservation board, but I thought I would ask.
Excellent question. We have an inventory right now just for the 1920s homes. We do not have an inventory for mid-century modern homes, things like that, or buildings for to that extent. So definitely something we could look at. We do have interns coming in, some already with defined projects, but we also always get interns from USF in our planning office and community development. So that seems like a real logical fit. So we could add that as a project to them. As council is aware too, we have a historic preservation board. This might be something that they may want to participate in, should the council feel that they want to refer this matter to them also. So
I think Councilmember Chambers.
Yeah, I was going to say the Centennial Committee is working on something like that too, the walking tour, and I think they talked about the QR code, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But they are working on the walking tour of the 1920s homes.
And so the reason I'm bringing this up is if you look at, I think Flagler College and the University of Tampa are very good examples. And Flagler College, the buildings were in disrepair, and the community got together and wanted to preserve them. And through their preservation process, school was born, and the buildings are preserved, and they serve as a good cultural asset for the community. University of Tampa has done the same thing with the plant buildings for the hotel. And over the years, the city of Temple Terrace, our buildings that are key to the early development of the city, most of them are gone. And we don't necessarily have a cohesive group in the city that's been able to affect preservation. So I'd like us to see, I think if we have some sort of inventory going, that people there might be more preservation-minded ownership of some of the buildings. So that's my thought.
I have a question for you. I like the idea. I think it's, I like it. So, but my question just for clarification is because are you referring to buildings that under our current ordinance would be considered historically significant buildings? Or are you looking to draw the circle broader than that? Because there are requirements in the ordinance that describes what a historically significant thing is. It doesn't even have to be a building, but it's age, but then also significant architecture, or, somebody famous lived in it, or, there's a number of qualifiers.
Yes, I guess I'm thinking of absolutely architectural significance, and all of the criteria that we have established.
But you're looking at
to
like the
expand
current,
it. Yes.
or change the criteria,
Or just, so as our housing stock, and I'm thinking of the mid-century modern specifically, because that is starting to come into the age of historic home age, and also they are architecturally significant. The style is architecturally significant. I'm not sure exactly I don't know how detailed an inventory would need to be. Like the 1920s homes, we know that they were designed by significant architects, and we know that we had significant early city leadership living in them. So they qualify on a lot of different levels. But I feel like the mid-century modern homes are very architecturally different and deserve some sort of listing. So
that's what the reason I'm asking is because we have, you know this better than I do, you've lived here longer than I do, but certain areas of the city were all built at the same time.
Yes.
So there's like whole neighborhoods of mid-century modern, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around, would we catalog that entire neighborhood, or
this would probably be something that would, the specific answer would be something that somebody who's actually put walking tours together or historic home inventories or building inventories would know more about. But I guess I'm thinking that you have whole neighborhoods that might be mid-century modern, and you might have your walking tour might take you through there and highlight unique architectural elements of some of the houses. You might not go, this is the architect.
Yeah, I got you.
Unless there was a prominent architect in that area, and you might not highlight that unless we did have a renowned city leadership living there, or some historic figure, but you might just say something more general about the area of mid-century modern. They were built at this time. This home has this unique architectural aspect. This one has this one. Maybe not a full detail.
So some of them have been preserved original
Yes.
better than others. So
Yes.
I understand.
So, but obviously somebody who's done this before would have more knowledge of the process.
I think it's a cool idea. We just have to figure out the particulars of how to make it work. So, yeah,
I guess the question, well, I'm not necessarily against the whole concept, but just we don't have that many historical buildings left outside of residential. Okay, so I'm not sure what we're going to accomplish by doing that. The ones that are, maybe 4 or 5 that are left in the whole city. But we went to great lengths when we changed the historic preservation. I can't remember the acronym that we had for it, or the initials, to say that we're not going to require any. This is not mandatory. Okay, and I just feel like this is a slippery slope that's opening up. We went to great lengths to assure people that we're not going to require anybody to join anything, but if we start designating whole neighborhoods as this or that or something else and put QR codes, I think I think we run the risk of a bait and switch perception.
I'm not asking any neighborhood to be designated.
But no, I understand it. I understand that.
Or any building to be designated. So, for example, Sutton Hall is going to come down.
Yeah.
There's a plaque that's there, and that will stay regardless of what is built in that area.
On the community
So-
church, I don't think there's anything else down there that's of historical significance.
Right, the orange
Yeah.
dome
Yeah.
is, but I didn't want to exclude, when I was thinking this through, I didn't want to just say historic homes, because there are a few buildings that are historic buildings, there's not a lot of them left. But I mean, I'm not suggesting that we tell anybody that they have to do anything, just that these homes exist and people enjoy like walking through towns and looking at the historic homes, and having a listing would help. Say, we walk through St. Augustine all the time when we look at all the homes there. Somebody could bulldoze their home and build a totally new one. That doesn't, I'm still going to walk through the neighborhood and look at the others. But I don't think I'm not at all suggesting that we say that anybody has to do anything about it. I'm just thinking that if we start documenting the properties that we do have, people who are interested in preservation and people who are interested in walking through neighborhoods and learning more about historic aspects, they would have a resource to use.
Well, the other thing that this could do, I don't think it's a slippery slope. I mean, our ordinance is there's a bright line. It says voluntary, and we would have to change that.
Yeah,
Which
well-
we're not gonna do. I don't think anybody up here would vote for mandatory.
I'm
But,
not looking now, looking down the future.
but this could, here's what I'm thinking of, and I don't know if this is true to your intent or if this is addressing your concern or not, but I'm thinking of, in my mind, I'm going down to the south of Bullard, West River, that whole area was developed in the 40s or 50s or whenever. Some of those homes are just like they were when they were built, carports or, and they're in good shape, some of them. And so to go down there and say, wow, this is a really good example of 1952 Florida home, flat roof, carport, it's never been, we know what they look like. I grew up in them, right? I mean, the open blocks that allow ventilation, all that kind of stuff. Here's a really good example. It's not been added onto. The carport's not been closed in. This is pretty good If we could make a list of these, it may be even then enable us to go to the owner and say, do you realize that your home, because you don't think of it as being a 1920s historical home, but your home in 5 years or in 10 years or maybe even today would qualify for historical status. Do you realize that? And we'd like to share some information with you. Maybe we'll start to, because some of those homes are already eligible under our ordinance, and some of them will be in the next few years. I don't know, I think it's a cool idea. Now, the question is, what's going to qualify, who's going to do the work? I mean, we got to figure some stuff out.
Which is part of why I thought if there was an intern that is
Yeah.
with USF or Florida College or any school of architecture or of historic preservation knowledge, that they might be able to give us, I just think regardless of whether we create a walking tour or not, I just feel like it would be nice to have some sort of inventory of what exists in the city. That's just my thought.
I think Mr. Vallea just said we have that. I'm not trying
We
to,
have it for the
I'm not trying to be
1920s.
negative. We have a lot of initiatives going on in the city right now. And I suppose we kick this to the historic committee, maybe so that they can come back with a recommendation on it.
I don't have any issue with who does it. It's just a thought that it's something I think we have, when we conveyed the old country club and the Club Morocco and all those buildings, when we conveyed them to the Bible College originally, they were like less than 10 years old. Nobody was thinking historic preservation at the time. They were just buildings. They were pretty contemporary, honestly. So I just think it would be nice if we had some sort of listing. We have it for the original homes, but I don't think we have it for anything newer than that, which would still qualify like the mid-century modern.
I think,
Yes, Councilmember Chambers.
You know, I think that's a great idea with Mid-Century Modern after next year. We need to concentrate on our 100-year and those homes that were built 100 years ago. And then we can start working towards mid-century. That's just my opinion. We got a lot of work to do on the 1920s homes for this next year.
There is a lot of work for the Historical Preservation Board during the centennial year. That's a good point. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm just suggesting it, and if the Historic Preservation Board would be a great
So-
board to address this. If they are busy doing other things right now, then obviously this.
Well, they are and they're not, but here's
Yeah.
another thing. We still have not gotten the final approval from the U.S. Park Service for our CLG status, Certified Local Government. Once we get that, this may qualify for a grant to do this as opposed to an internship. You know, we would have to draw a line around this scope of work and figure out exactly what we want to pursue, but I mean, this is your idea. I don't want to, maybe we wait and see till we get that, and then we.
I'm fine with that. I just thought we should start thinking this direction.
Councilmember Kravitz.
Brief brainstorming idea. I've seen this used to great effect elsewhere. Giving people a special recognition if their house is especially well preserved, especially beautiful, without any sort of strings attached. We would seek these people out and offer it to them. They could put a small plaque on the house, and sometimes if there is such a thing on the house, there's also a little bit more of an inhibition when it comes to tearing it down, if that is something that someone might want to do in the future.
Yeah, but we don't want to give them a plaque when there's no strings attached, when that's one of our major incentives to get it into the historical preservation program. So if we start giving that away to everybody without them coming into the program, we've lost one of our incentives.
You could make it required. I'm just saying that if you want to provide people with a sort of incentive to not change their houses too much or enclose their carports, you know, having that recognition on it and having the potential to have that withdrawn if you do take such a step. Again, it's just about the recognition.
Yeah, but we don't even have any of the 1920 houses enrolled. So I'm a little reluctant to want to give them something outside of the program when that's one of the things. And unfortunately, a lot of the 1920 houses already have their own plaque. So it's an idea.
Mayor,
Yeah.
some of this is great conversation, and it could be more appropriate for goal setting.
That's true too. And we might have the CLG by then.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's fine. I just think it's something we need to start.
I like it. I think it's something to, yeah. Okay, so we're going to table this for now, bring it back up at a time when we hear more about the CLG status and or at goal setting. Is that fair enough? Okay, thank you. Other new business? Councilmember Chambers. Councilmember Chambers. Then you're next.
I want to expand on what Santa Claus said earlier. Santa Claus made mention of the Winter Wonderland. So, Mr. Langfeld, great job by the Leisure Services Department. Saturday night, the 7th Winter Wonderland at Woodmont, and the first fairway was excellent. Mostly children, but some of us adults had a great time there with all the different activities. I think you set a record with the number of golf carts. I think it was in the 80s, last year in the 70s. I hope that's a correct. Give me a nod, yes or no. That's a yes, so they were in the 80s. And the citizens that decorated their golf carts, they are stepping up. The golf carts every year are getting better looking and stuff. So anyway, thank you to everybody that participated, but it was a very fun night. Thank you to the city and the other departments that prepped the park and got ready for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kravitz.
Nice to be able to chat. I thought I would bring up a couple of things that have been sort of on my mind regarding the exemptions and permits. I thought I'd just take everyone's temperature and see how people feel about it. One of them is the non-structural work exemption under $1,000. I think that's been that way for a really long time. I was just proposing maybe we could increase it for inflation, if there's any interest in that. The other one would be the roofing permit exemption, which is for under 100 square feet of repairs. And I thought it would be interesting to look into making that maybe scalable or more flexible based on a percentage-based system of the total roof area. And the last thing is about fences. You know, a lot of people recently have been repairing their fences following the hurricanes, taking advantage of the emergency situation to not have to get a permit to do certain types of work. I haven't really gotten the impression that it's harming anyone. So that's another area that I'd like to look into. And I was just curious if anyone had any thoughts on these 3 points.
I can just tell you, there are some issues with fences. Surveying, I know that's something we hear every now and then. Why do we have to survey? There's really good reasons for surveys. That's just my opinion.
We have had some feedback about the fencing, that it's not necessarily as smooth as.
Yeah. The other stuff I can't comment to, but that's something that I think our staff's been looking at a lot of these ordinances already. I don't know when they're going to come back to us, but we can certainly get a report further down the road. Anyway, that's all. I can't make any more opinions tonight.
That's
on
my
that.
concern is they are already working their way through some of the ordinances, particularly with the land development code. For the last year or two, we have engaged in strategic planning. We've made sure our annual goals reflect our strategic priorities. We have tasked our staff with doing more and more and more. And last year, we intentionally, as a body, agreed to kind of slow down on this and give them, because we've given them a pile of strategic things to do. The land use codes are one of them. The fences or pool locations, there's several. It's been a while since we had an update. We have intentionally avoided trying to dump new projects on them because we don't want to take them. I don't want to take their eyes off the ball. I mean, we're moving. We're getting there. We've accomplished more in the past 2 years than we've probably accomplished in 20 years previous to that. So I'm hesitant to want to like pick out, okay, we want to report on a roof permit because now Mr. Pauly and his staff is focused on that instead of what they're already focused on. And so that's not that I'm opposed to looking at these. I think we should continue to look at these, but I think they already are. So I'm hesitant personally to want to give them another task.
Well, I think, and we discussed this at our goal setting, and that's part of what they're looking at, is that we need to look at our full process of permitting and building and our building codes, et cetera. And I think so that should be part of what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we get that, when they have started working through it enough and they come back and report to us, that's the time when we would look at more specific, if that hasn't been addressed.
Yeah, we've been looking at, most of what you mentioned, we've been looking at for probably a year already. So, Councilmember Schuster?
Yeah, I would be reluctant to start piecemealing, let's look at this, let's look at that, because as you said, in our goal sessions, we've been doing, we said that we wanted a review of this done. I mean, even finance has gone through and whittled down the number of occupational licenses, for example. It was like, what, 900 or almost 1,000, down to a couple, down to a smaller handful. So I think this is, each department is working through that as we go along by virtue of just hearing our conversation. I'm sure that they'll take a deeper look at some of these specific issues. But I think this is already in process, and I'm more inclined to let the department heads work through the backlog to get to it.
I'm glad that there's so much principled interest in addressing it. It's awesome. So I'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully something will come through the pipeline.
Anything else, Mr. Kravitz?
No.
So one thing real quick, just FYI, the TPO elected chairs, Transportation Planning Organization elected chairs for the next year. I was elected chair and Commissioner Wastel is elected vice chair. So I don't think that changes anything other than my workload, but it doesn't give us any special, doesn't give us any special status, but just FYI. The other thing, real quick, I had to bring up, actually, Mr. Kravitz might want to, Councilmember Kravitz might want to bring this up. Somebody suggested to me, and Councilmember, I think it might have been your father, I wasn't sure, about the Centennial Challenge coin.
Would have been my wife. I don't think my father would know what a challenge coin is.
Well, I don't think he said challenge coin, he said coin, and maybe I'm filling in the challenge coin, so. Did you catch what he suggested to me? Do you want to?
What his opinion about it, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll bring it up then. So I offered, the suggestion was made to me to create a Centennial Challenge coin that would be made available to the public for sale. It's a commemorative, only available in 2025. We have a City Challenge coin already. I don't know if it's for sale, but this would be something that we could sell at cost. I mean, we're not trying to make a buck, but the collectors of these coins could buy it off the city's website or the clerk's office or whatever and have a Centennial Challenge coin, only made for a year.
It sounds like the Centennial Committee.
Well, it is, and I'm submitting it primarily if you think it's a great idea. Well,
Was it on their list? I don't remember.
I don't think it's on their list, but we certainly can suggest it. Their next meeting's the 2nd of January, so.
It's up to you. It's your.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
All right.
I've heard that we have a logo that we can use on there.
Anyhow, I thought it was a pretty cool idea when I heard it, so if they think it's a cool idea, so. That's all I have. Any other new business or board reports? Okay, city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, in the backup this evening, we have the fourth quarter report for fiscal year 2024 for the actual versus budget financials. If you have any specific questions, Finance Director Ingram is here in attendance to answer those.
Council members, questions?
No.
I do have one, Mr. Ingram, I'm sorry. I know we've been here a while, but I did have one. And again, not to put you on the spot because you might not have prepared for this particular question, but in the sanitation fund, I know we've had a lot of revenue growth in that area recently with Amazon, and thanks to Mr. Warrenfeld, we've had a lot of new commercial accounts and our revenue stream is up. My hunch is that it's so recent that it's not reflected in the 24 budget numbers because some of this probably came online after October 1st.
That's true. The Amazon in particular is new. I don't know that we got any of that in fiscal year 24.
So it's probably safe to assume that next year, I would think that our revenue we probably didn't put it in the budget in anticipation of that additional revenue. So we should exceed what we anticipated bringing in, I would think.
And would you agree with that, Jason? We've had these discussions. Yeah, we are already realizing some revenue from the Amazon materials that we're selling.
How soon before we would get a reliable indicator of the track we're on? Because I know we've incurred some additional expenses to provide that service too. So would we know like after the first quarter or the second quarter, would we be able to kind of predict the track that the sanitation fund is on for FY25 or?
The first quarter, we will definitely have some significant revenue from the Amazon material sale. There are some expenditures related to that too. I believe we should be able to have after our first quarter ends and we look at the numbers, and we should be able to have a good idea of where we're headed on that.
Okay. That would be good to know, particularly with that fund, because we have some projected, we've had some increases to try to stabilize that fund.
Right.
It'd be nice to know, okay, we're tracking in a good way, or yeah.
So I'd just like to, and I appreciate what Mr. Ingram is stating. I meet with Jason regularly, and he fills me in, and I think we're both pretty confident that the revenue picture is going to be far beyond our expectation. As we know, council approved an out-of-budget request actually recently for the sanitation fund because it's a business, operates like a business. We had a need. We are growing. We're in that cycle right now of large, intensive growth in business. The Amazon, we are running 16 times a day. Is that what it is?
Wow.
Yes, I should ask him to come to the podium.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. Jason Morfels, Public Works Director. So the Amazon account has some challenges that makes it operate the way it needs to be. So currently we're running 16 hours a day servicing Amazon, and that is peak cycle through the holiday season. They only do that 10 weeks a year, so we're about to fall off of that. But on a normal day, we have one dedicated truck, 8 hours a day, that services that account. And that would have been the out-of-budget purchase that we made in September to get ready for that. So.
Yeah, so I think our numbers, we're fairly confident those numbers are going to be much, much better. And we may actually, in fact, because of the revenue and this increased activity, we may be coming back to you for other opportunities here throughout the year.
Okay.
So,
Did you say 16 hours a day?
Yep, we have a truck on the road right now.
And he just fills up the truck and goes to,
So we have two drivers. We run a first and a second shift. So
Okay.
it's not the same driver 7 days
that's
a week.
fine,
6
that's
hours
fine.
a day,
That's,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, we have, there's 4 drivers. They cycle through on the weekends and we get it done. So I want to answer the additional expense. Yes, we do. Amazon has laid some stipulations on this account pertaining to containers that are out at that account. They are currently owned by Republic. Ours are on order. The current revenue that is pending, the current bill that's out, will cover all those expenses plus some. So there's revenue there. Our ROI is very short with this. So we're trying to make it more feasible to offset some of the other expenses.
Very good. Well, thank
Some
you.
of us, I'm sorry, some of us had the opportunity to go visit the plant. This is an aspect of it that I've never heard of. Could you elaborate on how we do that, how we handle this? For
As
just
far
30
as
seconds?
what we do?
What we do.
So Amazon they have 2 auger recycler compactors on site, and they have a trash compactor. So the auger bins are the challenge. Those auger bins are 42 cubic yards. They auger the cardboard recyclables into the container at a high capacity, at a high rate, with a lot of pressure. So as they fill up, we're dispatched. We send drivers out there. They unhook them. We swap containers. We haul. Till we swap and come back, that container already has cardboard in it in just a 1-hour drive to Ybor City and come back. So there's no downtime. We have to swap. We have to keep going, and that's why we purchase containers to try and make the swap go better for our drivers. That facility, from the tour that I took recently, they push out 500,000 boxes in 24 hours, packages. Now that's envelopes, that's boxes, that's you name it. So that's what they're doing. Trucks come in with product, they have to unbox it. That's where the cardboard comes from that we're recycling for them. The trash component is the plastic packages, their regular operational trash from their offices and facilities on the site. But that trash compactor goes 3 times a week. It's full. It's a 40-yard container. It's full, and we also swap that out as well. So right now there's 5 containers on site. We swap everything on site, and then the drivers go down the road. And that's why it takes 8 hours a day to swap 3 containers, because there's a lot of fiddling with the site security, where we are dedicated to traffic lanes. When we go in, we have to stay in the traffic lanes, get into the facility. There's a lot of moving pieces there, and the drivers have been very responsive to what's going on out there.
People don't realize what's involved with the facility, and I think it's good education for everybody. Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ingham. Are there other questions about the report?
Just one question.
Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
This is actually for the city manager. I just want to make sure that people who go onto the website and pull up our agenda, this backup is accessible to anybody.
So, as the council knows, we've had some concerns about some of the backup. I will check whether this tabulation here, with the way it's set up with the columns and the rows, is in fact accessible. I'll get that confirmed, and if there's any issue, we'll make sure that we get it out there on the agenda in some format.
That's it.
Very good. Mr. Bia, anything else?
Yes, real briefly, first I wanted to thank the city council for their support at the employee end of the year celebration. Thank you for serving food to our team members. Everybody sincerely appreciated not only that act, but also the fact that you helped us put this on to begin with, supported it financially, so very much appreciated. On behalf of the employees, I also wanted to thank again for Christmas Eve. That time off, that's a very nice perk. In fact, it's kind of funny. We mentioned this to employees, and there's a smile. It's like, oh, we have Christmas Eve off. Like you're like, Santa was great, but you guys are extra special tonight. So, just wanted you to know that. And finally, I wanted to just remind council and the community that tomorrow evening at 5:00 we'll be having the neighborhood meeting with the residents in Rolling Terrace, particularly the residents along Bellara Drive and Knights Branch, to talk about the flooding issues from Hurricane Milton. And that's at Lightfoot. That's it.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So is this a meeting that the council can and should attend, or is this a meeting that staff just wants to reach out to the neighborhood members?
Council is welcome to attend. Whether you should or not, it's kind of up to
Well,
you.
it's up to us, but I mean, the expectation, it's noticed, I mean, if
Yeah,
council.
it's been noticed. This meeting has been noticed correctly. And since it's open to the public, obviously, I would anticipate the majority of the folks there will be residents on that street. Yes, but it's, you're welcome to attend.
Okay.
It is, I'll be there. I mean, everybody's welcome. It is staff-run, though. It's not a council-driven.
That's correct. Yes, basically, it's run sort of like a presentation for a project.
Yeah, it's a staff-driven meeting. Any questions for Mr. B regarding his report? If not, city attorney report.
I have nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Good. Well, you've been quiet tonight. Anything else to come before the council tonight?
I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays and happy new year. We'll see everybody in January, I think.
I have an event.
You good? You just want to go home? I don't blame you. We will stand adjourned.